Billionaire's incredible journey, discovering his hidden past with X and twins at a crosswalk. Jack Reynolds, the tech mogul of Chicago, stood in the middle of the bustling city, his empire towering around him like the skyline, a blend of glass and steel that mirrored his aspirations. On the outside, he was a success story, an innovator relentlessly pursuing wealth and prestige. Yet beneath that polished veneer lay a cavernous void gnawing at his soul, filled with unanswered questions and regrets about the life he never fully embraced. The relentless pursuit had hollowed him out, leaving a whisper of longing for something he thought he chose to forsake: love, family, connection. And on this rainy Thursday afternoon, fate had a cruel twist in store. As Jack sped through a sea of umbrellas at a busy crosswalk, he felt a jolt of recognition seize him: Emily. His high school sweetheart, the girl who once filled his dreams and laughter. She was standing there, rain-soaked, flanked by vibrant tiny figures tugging at her sides: twins, Bella and Ryan. His heart dropped, memories flashing before him like TCP/IP packets flying across a network, each filled with the promise of laughter, shared futures, and bright-eyed love. Choices. A decade of them flooded in ones that had led him to this very moment. A surge of unease coursed through Jack. How could he not have known? A family he never imagined pulsed before him, thriving under the care of the very woman he let slip away for success. Emily's fierce gaze met his, and the electric air crackled with pent-up feelings. Anger radiated from her, mixed with disbelief she had fought storms that he never faced. Suddenly, the grandiose office filled with accolades felt hollow, as though he was trapped within gilded bars. Success was only a word, it didn't hold the warmth of a child's embrace or the fleeting glance of a true partner. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack felt his breath stutter, as doubts crept in. Would they see him as just a shadow from the past, a fading echo of their lives? The balancing act of his desires waged war within him. For years, he portrayed strength, but now, in the face of Emily's disappointment, that facade flickered. How could he reconcile his life rooted in ambition with this unexpected family? The weight of societal expectations loomed, his reputation hanging precariously. What would people say? Critics whispering around boardrooms. Was this a transparent act of remorse or genuine redemption? Standing still, Jack was torn between paths he had carefully carved. It felt absurd. Each heartbeat echoed with the urgency of his unfulfilled hopes for a family now embodied in three faces before him. Would he reach out? Change the narrative? Yet what was left to salvage from years spent chasing success at the cost of everything meaningful? Anxiety tightened its grip, showing him the looming precipice of loneliness. He had drifted towards a chasm he dared not leap into. Both the past and future collided in a breathtaking stillness that promised transformation. As they exchanged tentative words, the storm of emotions surged, a vortex of regret and yearning spiraling within. The very essence of who he was felt threatened. The mere prospect of reconnecting with Emily and the twins offered hope, yet threatened to dismantle his polished reputation. He stood there, an architect of his own loneliness, facing the ultimate dilemma, just moments away from potentially redefining his life. The chance to turn from the precipice stood before him, waiting for his answer. The choices of his past loomed heavy, the air thick with unresolved feelings as he pondered: retreat to the safety of ambition, or step forward into the unknown with a family he had overlooked. Jack stood there, caught in the crossfire of raw emotion and stark realization. Emily's eyes held a mixture of fury and hurt that stung him, a counterpoint to the happiness he had always envisioned for himself once he climbed the dizzying heights of success. Their brief exchange began to fill the air with palpable tension, heartbeats echoing louder than the traffic around them. Jack, she pushed, each syllable like a gust of wind ripping through the heavy rain. What are you doing here? The question was layered, a probing commentary on not just his presence but the life he had chosen. Words faltered as he grappled with a lifetime of choices that spiraled behind him like a ghostly parade, each decision shaping the man who now stood before the shattered reflections in Emily's gaze. I didn't know about the twins, he finally managed, the truth trailing off into uncertainty. Her brow furrowed in disbelief. You didn't know? You left, Jack. You always chased the next big thing, money, fame, while I was here, raising our children alone. Her piercing words cut through him, revealing the cost of his relentless ambition. Was he merely an archetype of a businessman, focused solely on empire building while neglecting the foundation of genuine relationships? The hollow accolades and lavish lifestyle had become an all-consuming vortex, sucking the essence of what mattered most: love and family. Emily, please. I want to understand, he pleaded, unable to shake the weight of nostalgia mixed with guilt. Yet even as he voiced the need, the uncertainty heightened. How could he bridge a chasm of a decade of silence? A slight movement caught his eye. Bella, innocently tugging at Emily's coat, peered at him with wide, questioning eyes, while Ryan hovered closely behind, mirroring his sister's curiosity. Jack felt an unexpected swell of warmth at the sight of them, yet it only accentuated the fear that gripped him. Was he ready for the responsibility that came with this revelation? These children weren't mere extensions of his past, they were vibrant lives shaped by Emily's love and resilience. How did he fit into this picture? The question gnawed at him, threatening the fragile courage he tried to summon. He had made a name for himself in boardrooms, but how could he navigate the complexities of rejoining a family that had acquiesced to his absence? He inhaled deeply, steeling himself against the tide of paralyzing doubts. I want to be a part of their lives, he finally said, voice steady yet uncertain. I want to know them, and I want you to know that I regret the distance, the choices I made. The admission tasted bittersweet, a reflection of his past he could no longer ignore. Emily's gaze softened momentarily, but resolve quickly returned, thickening the air with a tension he could feel in his gut. You think words are enough? After all this time? You shattered everything for your dreams. And now, just like that, you wish to reclaim it all? The challenge in her voice wrapped around him, fortifying his sense of urgency. This wasn't just a moment of confrontation, it was an opening, a chance to redefine everything he thought he understood about legacy and success. With each passing second, the choice loomed larger. Leap into an unknown that promised vulnerability, or retreat to a life where he was revered yet isolated? The playbook had always been straightforward in the business realm: data-driven, calculated, risk-managed. But this was uncharted territory, teeming with unpredictable emotions and the sacredness of familial bonds. Maybe I'm finally ready to learn, he said softly, uncertainty giving way to determination. Teach me how to be a part of this. Jack's heart raced at the enormity of the words he'd spoken, but as Emily's eyes widened, he caught a flicker of hope. Was it possible to rebuild? The world around him faded as he waited for her response, the space between them crackling with an intensity that promised drastic change. He felt as though he stood at the edge of his own evolution, ready to confront fears he had long buried. But what if she turned away, rejecting his plea? What if he had already lost them forever? The street hummed with the noise of the city, drowning out his spiraling thoughts, leaving one lingering question echoing louder than all the rest. Was he really prepared for the battle of rebuilding what he had once forsaken, or would he be left with dreams unfulfilled, much like a forgotten business plan abandoned on a dusty shelf? Jack held his breath, readying himself for the inevitable answer that would either shatter or reshape his world. The moment hung in the air, fragile yet electric, filled with unspoken possibilities. Jack held on to the hope flickering in Emily's eyes, the barest glimmer of a chance. Yet as seconds stretched interminably, her silence morphed into a wall that shielded her thoughts from him. Each heartbeat pulsed with a dual rhythm, anticipation and desperation. Jack, she finally said, her voice steady and measured, what does being a part of their lives mean to you? You stand here now, but how can I know you won't disappear again? Her words crashed over him like cold water, and he fought to gather his thoughts. This wasn't just a matter of wanting to be present, it required depth, commitment, and honesty, qualities he had often sidelined in pursuit of success. He had nourished his career with relentless ambition while the tender roots of family withered in his absence. I want to be here for them. To be the father they deserve, to watch them grow, he replied, searching Emily's expression for any sign of understanding. I realize now that my idea of success was fundamentally flawed. It was all about money and status, but that won't fill the void I created. Emily didn't flinch or soften, instead, her resolve carved sharper lines into her face. And why should I believe you now? Words don't change the past, Jack. The twins have thrived without you. Their lives are full, and you've been a ghost, a distant notion. Jack's chest tightened with the weight of her truth. Part of him questioned whether he was too late, if attempts to reforge bonds would only resurrect lingering resentments. Still, somehow, the prospect of reclaiming his role as their father ignited an ember of resolve. He realized this moment was about more than just making promises, it was a painful invitation to confront his past. I know it won't be easy. I don't expect you to trust me overnight, he said carefully. But I want to step into this discomfort. I want to learn who they are, what excites them, what scares them. I need to show them I'm capable of being more than a stranger. As he spoke, Jack's mind turned to the years lost and the memories yet to be created. A daunting responsibility loomed before him, but it was also a chance to redefine his legacy. He could no longer be the man who chased shadows, he needed to embody a figment of light for his children. Emily regarded him through narrowed eyes, skepticism mingling with a flicker of hope. So, what will you do, Jack? She pressed. How can you prove this? Isn't another fleeting moment of realization. Her challenge was more than fair, it was a gauntlet laid before him. Yet Jack felt an internal shift, a realization of the burden and privilege that came with taking this step. He envisioned a future where he showed up not just with gifts or grand gestures, but with acts of care, presence, and patience. Let me join you for a family dinner, he proposed, hearing the tremor in his own voice, a clear indication he wasn't just asking, I was pleading. Just us. I want to see them together. I want you to watch me try. Her brow furrowed, but a flicker of intrigue sparked in her eyes. One dinner? She echoed, hardly holding back a hint of disbelief. Yes. One meal. If I fail, you have every right to shut that door for good. The stakes hung heavy in the balance. Jack felt the vulnerable ache of uncertainty wrestling with newfound determination. This could lay the groundwork for a fresh chapter, or it could lead to a painful rejection. As Emily finally spoke, a subtle integration of optimism and skepticism underlined her response. Okay, Jack. One dinner. But know this, trust isn't easily rebuilt. You'll have to earn it daily. The agreement sparked a flicker of warmth in his soul, a glimmer of light in the darkness he had cultivated around him. Yet beneath that optimism, a creeping fear festered. Would he truly be able to shed old habits for the promise of family? Could he transform into the father they needed, not just for a moment, but for the long haul? Jack steeled himself for the journey ahead. The path to redemption was laid out, but the uncertainty echoed loudly in his mind. Would he falter again when confronted with the challenges that came next? As he watched Emily's face shift from skepticism to cautious acceptance, a new question formed. What would happen if the dinner revealed not just the warmth of family, but also the hidden fractures of regret that had lain beneath the surface for too long? Jack spent the next several days in a whirlwind of anxiety and determination. The date of the dinner settled into his mind like a countdown, each tick of the clock amplifying his nerves. He envisioned every scenario, the laugh of his twins, their bright smiles, but also the moments that could break him, the discomfort of silence, the painful stares from Emily, a reminder of the trust he had fractured. He immersed himself in preparation, not just in terms of food or setting, but in understanding how to communicate his newfound intentions. It was imperative to read books on parenting, psychology, even communication skills. He wanted to forge a connection that transcended the superficial. Each night, he practiced conversations in the mirror, grappling with the right words to capture the essence of what he felt, a mixture of gratitude, vulnerability, and love. Jack knew that this dinner was about more than just a meal, it was a bridge back to a life he had foolishly abandoned. He inspected the local grocery store, scanning for the right meal, something comforting, yet sophisticated. He settled on a homemade pasta dish, blending nostalgia with sincerity, hoping the effort would evoke memories of warmth similar to those he barely remembered. As the hours ticked closer to the appointed time, dread crept under his skin. What if they didn't want him there? What if the twins did not recognize the man they had known only as a shadow? Would they view him as an intruder in their lives? On the day of the dinner, he arrived early at Emily's house, heart racing with each footstep that brought him closer to the front door. The scent of spices wafted through the air, a reminder of the life that thrived within those walls. He knocked, uncertain if he should welcome the warmth or brace for cold detachment. Emily opened the door, surprise flickering through her expression before settling into a neutral mask. "You're early," she remarked, but he detected a hint of curiosity laced within the words. "I wanted to make sure everything was perfect," he responded, doing his best to keep his voice steady. Within moments, he was bustling around the kitchen, trying to mix with the aromas and forget the urgency of the situation. Emily watched him closely while he worked, her presence a constant reminder that everything would be scrutinized. The twins arrived moments later, giggling as they tumbled through the door, their laughter ringing like music in the evening. Jack glanced at them, his heart swelling with both joy and trepidation. They were still the same brave, vibrant kids he had known, yet he was a stranger, an emotional ghost haunting their once happy haunt. "Daddy!" his daughter exclaimed, a momentary glint of recognition flashing in her eyes, quickly followed by confusion. "Hey, sweetheart," he managed, forcing his lips to curve into a smile, despite a twinge of fear. As the meal progressed, Jack observed the dynamics that had shifted in his absence. The twins were blossoming, their lives full of laughter and whimsy, and yet an undercurrent of tension threaded through the evening. Emily was clearly protective, and it was evident she held an array of silent questions. Jack engaged with the twins, asking about their hobbies and school, but each answer revealed a gap he couldn't simply bridge with conversation alone. He could sense their hesitation, a lingering wariness that reminded him of the wall he had built around all of them. Every laugh that erupted from the twins often came with an edge of skepticism, as if they were waiting for him to falter. He took a breath, pushing himself to be more transparent, to open the door to his own vulnerability. "You know, I've missed so many of your moments. I can't change the past, but I can be a part of your present," he shared, locking eyes with Emily, fully aware of the risks that came with such honesty. For a fleeting second, he saw flickers of something in Emily's gaze. Was it hope, or was it just an echo of their shared history weighing heavily between them? As the night unfolded, they reached a tipping point in discussions. Jack felt a question pulse within him, a critical moment where he might either connect deeply with his children or see them retreat in fear and anger once again. The conversation could root a real change in their family, or drive them farther apart into silence. What would the next moment reveal? Would it encapsulate the warmth of potential or the cold distance of regret? Could Jack summon the courage to confront his inner demons through the eyes of his children? The answer lingered in the air, thick with unspoken words and fractured opportunities, complicated by the one truth he had yet to face: how deeply rooted his own insecurities were, determining the trajectory of their future together. Jack sensed the moment shifting, the air thick with tension and hope intertwined. Emily's gaze seemed to pull him closer, encouraging him to dive beneath the layers of his own fears. With a heart pounding against the backdrop of childhood laughter, he steadied himself and chose to breach a more profound subject. "Do you remember the time we went to that park near the lake?" he asked, his tone light yet earnest. The twins exchanged glances, a mixture of curiosity and cautious recognition flitting across their faces. "Yeah. You showed us how to fly kites." His son chimed in, his eyes wide with a blend of nostalgia and hesitance. Jack saw the flicker of joy, but it was veiled by the fragility of what had been lost. "That was an incredible day," Jack continued, leaning into the memories like a lifeboat in the stormy sea of his longing. "I promise to create more moments like that if you'll let me." The sincerity wrapped around each word, infusing the atmosphere with his desperation for redemption. As the dinner went on, Jack pushed through the barriers he sensed around his children. Each light-hearted question was intertwined with a plea for connection. He acknowledged the awkwardness, stepping into a space where certainty was a ghost, and risk loomed large. The twins began to share snippets of their lives. Each revelation brought Jack's heart back to life, but it also spotlighted the chasm of absence he had left behind. In the midst of laughter, Jack caught Emily's eyes again, a silent communication flowing between them through the decisions they had wrestled with over the years. The sharpness of pain still lay between them, unspoken, yet palpable. "Emily, I know I'm not the man I was when I left. I get it now, my choices hurt you. They hurt all of us. What I thought was freedom was actually my prison," he confessed, the words spilling out like an unraveling garment. For a heartbeat, the world paused. Jack watched the tension in Emily's shoulders relax slightly, a courage firing beneath her protective exterior. "I want to believe in a different future for us," he continued, each syllable exploring the vulnerable maze of raw honesty. "But I need to earn your trust back." Silence filled the space, a thick blanket of unsteadiness. Jack felt a shiver creep up his spine, doubt contorted within him. Would they see his efforts as genuine, or would his past actions overshadow his every attempt? "I just want to know you better," his daughter broke the silence, her small voice wavering, an island of innocence amid turbulent waters. Jack's heart constricted as he perceived her resolve to reach out, and with it, a twinge of hope ignited within him. The conversation spiraled in more directions, skirting back and forth, emotions flaring yet promising, and Jack seized these moments. He began to share fragments of his journey over the past years, tales of misadventures and lessons learned, all pieces that could perhaps paint him into a better light for the twins. But for each smile from them, the weight of shame reminded him that consistency was not a single moment, but a commitment. As the evening wore on, warm laughter battled against memories of pain, and Jack felt a growing confidence budding within him. Yet, the shadows whispered reminders of his past failures, and he was acutely aware that this dinner, this moment of potential renewal, could evaporate if he faltered. "Tomorrow, I want to take you both to the park again," Jack suggested, his nerves igniting at the vulnerability of proposing continuity. "We could fly kites, new ones this time. It would be a new memory, don't you think?" The twins exchanged hopeful glances, but Jack noted they were still tethered to their uncertainty, the question hovering just beneath their smile: was he truly committed, or was this just another fleeting promise? Maybe his son hesitated, glancing toward Emily. Jack's heart raced as he realized this wasn't just about him, it required her participation. He needed to confront Emily next to harness her perspective and align their newfound dynamics. "Emily, how do you feel about this?" Jack's voice trembled slightly, a mixture of determination and trepidation threading through his question. The connection between them crackled like electricity, each second stretching into eternity as Jack awaited her response. Would she nurture the tentative thread he had woven, or would she pull away, tossing him back into the unknown shadows of isolation from their lives? The answer loomed in the air, heavy with anticipation, pulling him further into the depths of his own struggle for redemption and the chance for a family reborn. What would her answer reveal about their path forward and each of their roles in reclaiming a future together? Jack held his breath, feeling the weight of Emily's gaze piercing into him. The silence accumulated like a snowball, twisting into something heavier and more complex. He understood that this moment was not just about the past, it was about reshaping their future. Every second that ticked away felt like a promise hanging in the balance. Emily began, her voice almost lost in the charged atmosphere. Jack's heart thudded harder. He could see the internal struggle playing out across her face. I think the kids deserve that. I want them to have those moments with you. She paused, her eyes revealing a fragile determination. But it's not just about kites, Jack. You have to show us you mean it. You have to be here, really here, not just in body, but also in spirit. His chest tightened. This was a familiar conversation for him, yet it felt different. This time the stakes were monumental. I will, Emily. I promise, he replied, his voice steady despite the turmoil churning inside. I want it to be part of who I am now. I've realized that I've missed out on so much. As the conversation shifted toward the twins' interests and recent accomplishments, Jack guarded his inner monologue, recognizing the anxious impulses whispering doubts into his ear. He had been a part of their life in a distant way, but now was the opportunity to build something real. Their previous hollow exchanges haunted him, reminding him venomously of the man he used to be. Was it enough for them to see subtle changes, or did he need to shatter the entire facade he had created? What would he do if they tested him? What if they needed more than he even understood how to offer? These questions warred within him, threatening to overshadow the small glimmers of hope that had ignited during dinner. Jack shifted the focus back to the twins, asking about everything from their favorite books to how they felt about school. Each new question was a chance to foster connection. To his surprise, they spoke more than he expected, their voices weaving together in a symphony of youthful innocence mixed with cautious optimism. Each laugh felt like a brick laid down to fill the cracks of their dynamic. In that moment of discovery, Jack felt a flicker of understanding that perhaps he had something to offer, something beyond just being their father. There was a wealth of lessons he had learned from his mistakes, from the years spent in solitude and reflection. He could share resilience. He could show perseverance. Perhaps, through this journey toward reconnecting, he would discover his own strengths. As the evening dipped further into the night, he caught Emily's eyes again, their unspoken conversation growing richer with meaning. What about us, Emily? He ventured, redirecting the conversation. How can we rebuild? Where do you see us heading? Emily's expression shifted, vulnerability taking center stage. Jack, it's not about forgetting. It's about accepting the past enough to move forward. I have to know you're truly committed, not for a day, or a week, but for the long haul. He inhaled sharply. Was he truly prepared for that level of commitment? His heart swelled with the desire to prove that he could be reliable, that he could become the person designed for this role. I'm ready to show you that I can be reliable, he asserted, gripping the table edge with determination. But I need your guidance. What can I do to demonstrate this is real? Emily smiled tentatively, and though it didn't banish all of her doubts, it felt like the first glimmer of a promising dawn pushing back the darkness. First, you need to be patient both with me and with the kids. Trust isn't given back easily. Jack nodded, absorbing her words like a sponge, realizing that he was on the cusp of learning important lessons not just about parenting, but also about accountability, respect, and the unyielding need for patience. We'll go to the park tomorrow, and we can fly kites together. That'll be a step, he said, embracing the idea more firmly. But I want to hear about your passions, what makes you happy, what you long to explore. But then came a quickened flash of apprehension as he considered the reality of such openness. Was he ready for the weight of their worlds? Could he handle the revelations and expectations that might surface? With Emily's gaze returning to the twins, Jack felt the anticipation weave tight around him once more. As they shared laugh after laugh, he held on to the gentle tremor of fear in his gut. It was a reminder that opportunities to shape his legacy with the twins had begun to unfold painfully and beautifully before him. The next step loomed before him, but so did the shadows of his past errors. What if these small beginnings unraveled into something more complex? Would he have the strength to confront the darkest corners of his journey as he walked this path with his family in view? As the laughter lingered in the air, Jack sensed that tomorrow was not just another day, it was the threshold between the man he had been and the father he aspired to become. Would he be able to transform that threshold into a bridge, or would it remain an insurmountable divide? The morning sun streamed into the kitchen, illuminating Jack's resolve as he poured orange juice into 3 mismatched glasses. It felt like a significant shift, a ritualistic step toward embracing the family life he had long neglected. The air buzzed with the possibility of change, yet an undercurrent of anxiety coiled tightly within him, reminding him of everything left unspoken. As the twins stumbled groggily into the room, Jack felt a surge of warmth. Their hair was tousled, and their pajama-clad figures radiated innocent comfort. Was it too early to introduce any semblance of a structured routine? He hesitated, recalling a segment from a parenting podcast he had listened to during lonely nights spent contemplating how to mend his family ties. He needed to adopt a blend of creativity and discipline. "Hey, champs! Ready for our big park adventure?" He tried to infuse enthusiasm into his voice, but the words felt foreign, awkward, like a dancer stepping on stage for the first time. They exchanged a sleepy glance. "Can we have pancakes first?" they chorused, their faces lighting up with a flicker of excitement. Pancakes it is. The momentary relief washed over him, and he felt himself grinning widely. Continuing in this vein might just be the key to establishing real connections. As he whisked the batter, memories of past failures echoed in his mind. Cooking had been a hollow act before, it had merely filled the void left by his absence. But this morning felt different, a transformation brewing within him. Each pancake flipped was a promise, an investment in building relationships rather than barricading himself in isolation. Despite the twins' enthusiastic chatter, Jack caught glimpses of Emily peeking around the doorway. She wore an expression that spoke volumes, curiosity mixed with hope. In that moment, he realized that his desire to rekindle their love was intertwined with the responsibility to be a present father. "Want to join us?" he called out, unsure if she'd feel inclined. Emily lingered for a moment, then stepped forward, her demeanor cautious yet curious. "I'd love to help." The way her words danced lightly on the air signaled that while there was progress, there was still much ground to cover. With the twins eagerly assisting by setting the table, Jack felt the atmosphere shift from tension to shared purpose. It was a brief window, a fleeting moment where laughter blended perfectly with the rhythmic sounds of life emerging in the home. Over pancakes, golden and fluffy conversations flowed more freely. Jack asked them about school, their friends, even their hobbies. Little by little, fragments of their lives he had been blind to unfurled before him. "How about art? Any favorite paintings?" Jack ventured, remembering their love for drawing, hoping to unearth hidden pieces of their world. "I like Van Gogh. His colors are so bright," one of them shouted, bouncing in his chair, while the other nodded rapidly. An uncanny thrill surged through Jack. This was a small but pivotal revelation. As he listened, he realized he was learning more about the twins than he had in years. Each detail about their preferences stitched invisible threads of intimacy that would bind them closer. Soon after breakfast, the tension in him began to mount again. Would the planned kite-flying outing unfold as he envisioned? What if he faltered? He'd promised to be present, embodied in every moment, but could he handle the unpredictability of their reactions? Arriving at the park, he was filled with a trepidation that buzzed around him like the whir of 1,000 kites taking flight. He would need to be ready for whatever the day might reveal, the highs and lows of being a father again. The expectations felt overwhelming. What if their excitement faded into disappointment? Once at the park, he squinted against the bright blue sky, marking out the area where they would fly the kites. Just as they began to take the kites from their bags, Emily joined them, her smile encouraging. "Let us see how they fly," she cheered, tugging at their energy. For Jack, her presence was both a comfort and a challenge. It underscored the work left to do between them, but it also illuminated the potential of collaborative efforts. He watched the twins run joyously, the kites soaring high in the air, streets filled with laughter echoing around them. Each tug of the kite string reminded him of the weight of responsibility he had to carry, not only to show the twins a good time, but to demonstrate to Emily that change was possible. Yet amid the joy, a nagging voice pulled at his consciousness, urging him to face his doubts. Was this just a fleeting moment of hope? As a gust of wind caught the kites and sent them quivering higher, Jack stood transfixed, determined to bridge the gap between who he had been and who he could become. Just then, he caught a glimpse of a familiar figure across the park. An unexpected confrontation loomed on the horizon. Would this encounter threaten the fragile progress he had begun to build, or could it compel him to confront the very truths he had buried deep? Heart racing, Jack prepared for what lay ahead. Jack's heart pounded as he took a sharp breath, the familiar figure growing clearer with each passing moment. It was Alex, his old friend from college, a man who had made it big in the tech industry and whose life seemed to radiate success. Yet, for Jack, Alex represented a time in his life marked by missed opportunities and reckless ambition. Their past was a convoluted tapestry of camaraderie intermixed with envy, and now, standing there, all the old ghosts surged back. "Jack! Is that you?" Alex called, a grin spreading across his face as he ambled closer. The stark contrast of his confident stride against Jack's unease felt like a spotlight that highlighted every blemish on Jack's journey so far. "Hey, Alex," Jack replied, forcing a smile as he eyed the twins and Emily, who blissfully engaged in an impromptu kite wrestling match nearby. "What brings you here?" "I was just meeting some friends," Alex said casually, glancing over at the twins. "Nice kids you've got there. Seems like you've turned things around since we last spoke." "Yeah, I'm trying," Jack muttered, immediately feeling the weight of the words. Hadn't he always been trying? He could feel the pressure mounting, a mix of pride and insecurity. Just moments ago, he was basking in a sense of purpose, but now he felt like a child caught in the act of something forbidden. "How's work?" he asked, trying to redirect the conversation toward safer ground. "Phenomenal," Alex said, his voice dripping with enthusiasm. "I've just secured another round of funding for my startup. We're working on something groundbreaking for educational tech. Imagine schools using augmented reality to teach history and science." There he was, effortlessly listing his glories, and all Jack could bring to the table was the fading hope of reclaiming his family. "I'm proud of you, man," Jack said, feeling the tension seep into his own voice. "Things are really progressing for you." "Thanks, I appreciate that," Alex replied, sincerity tinged with something more, a hint of competition, perhaps? Jack swallowed, a storm of emotions swirling within him. Here stood a man who had taken risks, embraced challenges, and emerged victorious, while Jack often found himself at a crossroads, the perpetual fight to rebuild the connections that had once defined his existence. Would they ever truly compare? Could he muster the strength to rise beyond more than just being a dad at the park? "Listen, if you ever want to talk about opportunities in tech or just catch up on old times, you have my number," Alex offered, a hint of camaraderie flickering back into the conversation. "Sure, yeah, I'll think about it," Jack responded half-heartedly. The thought of stepping back into the world of relentless ambition felt daunting, almost foreign. Yet, something within him challenged the notion: could he balance the drive with his responsibilities at home? Just then, a shriek followed by infectious laughter pulled his focus back to the twins, who had managed to send their kites twisting perilously close to each other. The sight of their uninhibited joy grounded him, a reminder of why he was fighting to change. He needed clarity, a strategy to inform his choices rather than merely reacting to acquaintances from the past. "Hey, Alex, I gotta go," Jack said, the urgency of the moment striking him. "There's a bit of a kite crisis over there." He pointed at the twins, their laughter ringing like a symphony against the backdrop of the park. "Of course. Let us grab a coffee sometime, Jack." "I want to hear how you're doing," Alex said, stepping back with an understanding nod, still flashing that confident smile. After a final glance at Alex, Jack moved swiftly toward the twins, his determination igniting. He couldn't allow his past to define him. He had a choice to leap forward, guided not by the shadows of comparison but by a newfound commitment to his family. As he approached the twins, their delighted squeals filled him with warmth and confidence. "All right, team. Let us untangle these kites and show them how to fly," he declared, seizing the moment. Yet, as he knelt to help them, he felt a twinge of uncertainty reappear. Would embarking on this path of reconnection inevitably mean confronting his own inadequacies? Could he truly juggle these transformations without faltering? The twins' faces illuminated with excitement, but amidst the warmth of their joy, a chilling realization unfurled inside him. Perhaps confronting his past success alongside Alex was his next hurdle, a duality of ambition and familial duty set against the canvas of an unforgiving world. And as the wind picked up, sending a flurry of kites swirling in brilliant arcs overhead, Jack felt the impending weight of choices accumulating with each gust. He was determined but aware of the storm brewing, an imminent confrontation with himself. The moment had arrived to decide, could he forge his own path from the remnants of his past, or would he be tethered to the shadows cast by peers? The answers begun to whisper, mingling with the laughter of his children, as the sky turned vibrant with possibility, foreshadowing a crossroads that would require him to not just face his fears but to actually rise above them. As Jack focused on the mirth and chaos of the kite disaster, a curious contemplation washed over him. The laughter of his children rang clear, but beneath that joy lurked a deep-seated uncertainty about his own direction. Unwrapping a tangle of string, he couldn't help but glance toward Alex, who still stood across the park with a distant group of friends, embodying the life Jack once aspired to return to. With each tug on the kite string, he could feel both the exhilaration of the moment and the sharp pangs of inadequacy within him. He nudged open the door to self-reflection as he worked with the twins to straighten out their flying toys. What had been his ambitions? They felt like ghosts roaming the recesses of his memory. Business ventures, innovative projects, realities that seemed to slip further away every day. Was he truly ready to reconnect with that part of himself? "Dad, look!" one of the twins exclaimed as their kite soared higher, catching the wind just right. Jack suddenly felt a swell of pride, a sharper realization dawning on him. Maybe these tiny victories in the park were echoes of paternity, of triumphs still ahead. But could he allow those echoes to well into a full symphony of achievement? He decided to take a moment, breathing in the fresh air, as he put down the kite and crouched to meet his children's gaze. "You two are fantastic kite flyers," he said, not just as a casual comment, but a sincere recognition of their ability to seize moments of joy without fear of how it might be perceived. "Thanks, Dad. Will you help us get them higher?" They chimed in unison, their innocence radiating a purity Jack craved. Their small faces shone with the purity of untainted ambition, the kind that didn't care about financial success or past failures. It was earnest and uncomplicated. "Of course. Let us give it a go," he replied, tightening his grip on the string. Yet the weight of Alex's offer loomed in his mind. Perhaps the time had come for action beyond just being present. What if he could tap into the realm of tech opportunities Alex had hinted at? The thought ignited a flicker of inspiration. Jack wrestled with anxiety as he helped the twins run with their kites, adrenaline coursing through him. Running alongside them, he felt the years melt away. Each stride infused him with a sense of liberation and energy he hadn't felt in ages. He wasn't just a dad, he was a father willing to confront the dug-in roots of his identity. As the sky filled with puffs of color and kites danced exuberantly in the air, a giddiness caught him off guard. Internal voices started to form strategies, schemes for how he might merge his rekindled drive into a professional pursuit without abandoning the warmth of home. That was the crux of it. How could he balance ambition with his familial responsibilities? In that moment of clarity, Jack realized he couldn't afford to tiptoe around the idea of reaching out to Alex anymore. The prospect of connecting with a former colleague, of rekindling his professional aspirations, ignited something that resembled hope. But the underlying fears remained stark. If he pushed beyond established patterns, what if he fell short again? "Keep it steady, team," he called out, watching them maneuver the kites with delight. Yet, a knot formed in his stomach. How much further could he reach without losing what he feared to abandon? As the afternoon light began to dull, its colors stretching into oranges and purples, Jack reached for his phone, hesitating for just a heartbeat. Alex's name flashed across the screen, an unfamiliar invitation pressing against his fingertips. Return to the game, it seemed to say. Embrace disruption, and perhaps, just perhaps, find something worthwhile waiting there. But even as he nibbled on the edge of the possibility, the relief of being present with his children held him back. Could he find the core of balance needed to navigate the dual facets of his life? Suddenly, everything felt like a gamble, each choice a thread that could unravel or complete the tapestry of his story. With a deep breath, Jack's finger hovered over the call button. The moment teetered precariously between fear and growth. As the first stars began to pierce the evening sky, he sensed the winds of change gathering around him. The journey ahead was unclear, but the winds of ambition were once again whispering in his ears, promising the thrill of discovery. As uncertainty clawed at his mind, a new question loomed: would he dare respond to that call and claim the next step in his evolution, or remain a spectator in his own life? The air crackled with expectation of what was to come next. Jack sat on the park bench, the sun dipping low in the sky, a stunning panorama of oranges and purples casting an enchanting glow over his next chapter. He had just come from a day filled with joyful chaos, a whirlwind of laughter and kites soaring overhead. It struck him as oddly symbolic. Here he was, allowing vibrant aspirations to take flight, much like the kites sailing above him all afternoon. In those gleeful moments shared with his twins, he began to understand how every effort to reconnect came with responsibilities he'd long avoided. Back home that night, Emily caught his eye as they tidied together. Her voice, filled with warmth but also caution, reverberated in his mind. Trust isn't easily rebuilt. Jack felt the weight of those words settle into his chest. Each interaction with his children had felt electric, lush with laughter, yet he knew that maintaining that warmth required more than just presence, it demanded action. Striking a balance between ambition and family responsibilities was now his primary challenge. Jack glanced at his phone, still buzzing with notifications from social media. Alex. The name echoed in his mind, each syllable a portal to the life he once yearned for. Jack realized he hadn't just been avoiding Alex. He had avoided a part of himself, the ambitious, innovative spirit that had driven him to heights he'd once deemed untouchable. A flicker of adrenaline surged through him. Driven by a newfound awareness, he reached for the phone. His thumb hovered over Alex's contact, hesitation threading through him. What was it that he sought? More importantly, would pursuing this ambition pull him away from the newfound family life he cherished? He sensed a risk, yet within that risk lay potential. Potential for achievement, for personal evolution. He clenched his jaw and took a deep breath, dialing the number. Jack. It's good to hear from you. Alex's voice resonated through the receiver, laced with unmistakable excitement. Hey, I wanted to talk about that coffee. I appreciate your offer to catch up. The words flowed more easily than he anticipated, each syllable affirming his intent to step back into the professional realm. Absolutely. How about tomorrow morning? Alex's enthusiasm surged through the line. As Jack confirmed the time, a wave of determination swept over him. This was at the start of a dual journey as both a father and a tech innovator. What he had realized was that ambition didn't have to be abandoned or forsaken. Instead, it could complement the relationships he was attempting to rebuild. The next day unfolded into a series of vibrant conversations with Alex centered around uncharted ventures, technological advancements, and innovative opportunities. As they discussed project ideas over coffee, Jack felt something stirring deep within him, a familiar spark rekindling. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Jack soon realized not only had he re-engaged with his professional identity, but he was also importing that newfound confidence back home. Returning to the park later that day with renewed purpose, he sought out Emily and the twins, wanting to share his enthusiasm for the path he was forging. He could feel a shift within him, newfound confidence spilling over into conversations and bonding moments with his children. As they gathered to fly their kites again, he felt a profound sense of connection. As he launched a bright blue kite into the air, he caught Emily's eye. "I want you to know I've been making connections back at work. I'm energized, and there's a whole world of opportunity out there that I want to embrace," he said, each phrase laced with determination. "What does this mean for us, Jack?" Emily asked, folding her arms, still carrying a careful skepticism. "I plan to show up not just as dad, but as a partner in our shared lives. I'm ready to commit. I'm building my professional dreams, but not at the expense of nurturing this family." Jack's resolve rang true. The word solidifying his transformation became a new manifesto for their shared future. With the sound of laughter spiraling into the clear sky, he noticed the bright colors shining above, visible markers of hope and reconciliation. The kites danced joyfully, lifted by the wind, a visual testament to soaring possibilities waiting to take flight. In that moment, Jack understood that true success came from a balance, a mastery in merging aspirations with meaningful connections. Rather than competing with the ghosts of his past, he was ready to run hand in hand with the vibrant souls of his family into a horizon filled with promise. As they stood together, a unit tangled in the strings of love and ambition, Jack felt an unwavering acceptance solidifying inside him. The dual pathways of ambition and family was not a conflict to navigate, they could exist in harmony. The connection between him and Emily grew, the bonds within their family strengthened. With the burdens of regret slowly unraveling, he achieved a realization success was not measured solely by his accolades, but also by the love he forged and the memories he created. It was about integrating all he had learned into a new narrative, a tapestry woven from both longing and fulfillment. Jack looked at his children's beaming faces and felt a deep satisfaction wash over him, the proud realization that he was finally the father they deserved. Jack Reynolds was composing a symphony of reconciliation, nestled between the chords of family love and the melody of ambition. Now, as the kisses of warm light wrapped around them, he embraced the direction ahead, a harmonious blend of self-discovery and affection. Jack was prepared, not only to achieve but also to nurture, understanding that each moment built was a stepping stone toward a legacy he was proud to shape, a legacy defined by love, commitment, and endless possibility. Transformations began when one committed to the journey before them, and Jack Reynolds was ready to soar. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.